So hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage. This video will hopefully be the last on the Volvo 242, at least on the mechanical work. I still would like to make a small driving video, but in the previous video I finished up the last of the work on the Volvo, or so I thought. I changed the brakes, the calipers, the pads, the discs and all that, and some of the hoses and pipes as well. I bled the system. And then I took it for a ride, but the pedal became a bit spongy and it actually became worse and worse. So I went back and it turned out that I had a leak in the system that wasn't there when I started, but something has broken after all the new stuff was fitted. And it turned out to be a pretty common thing to break on these Volvos. I'm not that experienced with the Volvos, so I didn't know that it was a common thing, but there is this thingy on the system. It's a brake junction box that supplies the brake pressure to all the calipers. And the system is a bit complicated on the Volvo, as I told you last time, because there is two hoses for the front, and it's made that way so that one of the circuits can actually brake and it will still be able to brake pretty safe. But it will actually turn a light on the dash, which indicates a brake failure. And this is the box that actually turns that brake failure light on and also send the pressure to the right places on the car. This is the contact, and this is where the old one has started to leak. There is not supposed to be brake fluid in here, as far as I know. So if it leaks out here, you not only have a problem with the seal up here, or actually scratch that, it's not a problem with the seal on this, as you might think. It is a problem with the seal inside of here. So you cannot just tighten this one up or something like that. It will not work. In here is a little piston of some sort that is supposed to be in the middle. If it is in the middle, it will not light the brake failure light on. But if it's to one of the sides, it will turn the light on. And it is pushed by the brake pressure. This is one circuit and this is the other circuit. So if one of the circuits suddenly break, then there will be a higher pressure on one side and it will go to one side and turn on the light. So we are going to change this one today, and then hopefully everything will work. Fingers crossed. So let me show you where this brake junction box is actually located. And this is a telltale sign of the location. It is right above the wet spot, right up in here. And as you can see, actually the contact popped out when I pressed the brake pedal hard, which means a lot of pressure was inside of there. And as I told you before, there is not supposed to be any pressure in there, only a piston going from side to side. So the seals on the edges must be blown. I think it's possible to rebuild these, but because I do not have enough experience in this system, and this is not my car, I won't begin to rebuild something I don't fully understand. So therefore I'm going to change it. This turns out to be one of those nightmare jobs that people fear when they own a Volvo, it appears. And I think it's because these can be hard to take out without destroying the pipes, but let's see. What I'm going to do now is to clean it up so I don't get a lot of grit and dirt into the brake hoses or lines. And then I'm going to put you on a stand, and then we're going to change it. And hopefully it will take no time. After that, we're going to bleed the system once again. I hope that we don't have to bench bleed the brake master cylinder, but we'll see about that. But firstly, I'm going to clean this up. So I cleaned it up a little bit. Could be better, but it's quite stubborn, all this dirt. I will just have to make sure that nothing comes into the brake hoses or lines. Oh, that was easy. This is what defines if it's going to be an easy job, difficult job, I think, is that if these are stuck, it's not the end of the world, but I will have to make new flares on them then. So yeah, I think you get the point. I'm going to take the rest of these out and then take you back when I install the new one. But firstly, I'm gonna get something to catch all this brake fluid that of course is coming out. It's not completely empty, but it's pretty close because the brakes are not working at all, only the handbrake. I had a challenge to get it into the shop because an automatic car without a brake is pretty scary to use actually, because it will just drive when you put it into gear. The handbrake though could hold it, so yeah, it was an experience. I'm gonna take the rest off and take you back. Well, so far it has been a pretty easy job, and none of them has been stuck or anything, so it's pretty nice. Of course it's fiddly because there's not a lot of room in here, and I would really, maybe all of the posts I read online about how difficult this job could be came from people who did not have a lift, because lying on the ground doing this must be pretty painful. But it's not that bad. If all of them crushed or broke or something like that, then it's a pretty big job, because the best thing would be to change all the brake lines. These has been changed once before because this is copper lines and it's not copper from the factory. So they are all good, they can't rust. So that's good. Another thing I would like to add is it seems to be a general consensus that when you buy a new one of these, you shouldn't go for the cheap ones. People seem to agree that you should go for the OEM one, or at least a high quality one, because the cheap one tends to actually break pretty fast, and some of them are even leaking right out of the box. And I don't think it's a job you want to do twice. So that is just a small advice that I do not know if it's true or not. But I didn't want to take the chance to buy the cheap one, so I bought the right quality from the get-go. So I'm just going to install the new one. It's pretty straightforward, but make sure that you do not put any grit into this. You need to clean off the pipes before putting them into the right places. Also keep a track on putting them where the other one came out, of course. But I'm going to tighten all of these up, and then we should be good to go actually. And I'm going to fill it up now and pressurize the system to make sure that nothing leaks, but I do not assume anything was going to leak. But it's always a good idea to keep an open eye on stuff when you have been opening the brake system up, because yeah, I like to do that at least. Make sure that nothing suddenly leaks or something like that. This rubber thing should be able to pop down. Yeah, something like that. I just realized how easy this job could have been if I did it before putting the engine in. I mean, while the engine was out, because that would, and I could have sit in the engine bay actually and do it. But anyway, we're finished with this, and now we're going to bleed the system once again. I'm not going to show that, but I will take you back when I have done that, and then we're going to, and then hopefully it is going to actually work. Who knows? See you in a minute. So there we go. I have now bled the brakes on the car, and actually I went into I hit a little problem doing so, because when I bled the system and pressed the brake, the system actually detected a malfunctioning pressure bias. So the brake contact I told you about earlier actually got triggered and turned on the brake warning light. Let me show you. I actually took it out on the old one, but right here is the switch, and to reset it, you actually have to take it out and press the brake while the contact and plunger is out of it. then press the brakes a couple of times, not very hard, but just a little bit, and then put it back in, and then it's reset and works. So now it works. So it turned out that was actually not going to be the last repair video on the Volvo. There's some other stuff wrong with it. I went to bleed it after changing the junction box, and I noticed I had an issue with the rear brake hose. I changed the one in the front, and those in the rear seemed pretty nice, but on closer inspection I didn't like them, so I changed them out as well. They tend to collapse on the inside or clog up, making them not work. That was an issue, but I had some issues bleeding the brakes still, and it turned out that the master cylinder, which is almost the last thing in this braking system that I haven't touched, the master brake cylinder and the rear brake pressure valve, those I haven't touched either. They seem to work though, but the master cylinder has a slow leak backwards, which means it works, but the pressure will drop when you keep your foot on the brake. It's pretty common for the rubber to deteriorate over age and leaking the pressure backwards. So the next video will actually be changing the master cylinder on the Volvo, and then I hope it's ready to leave my garage at least. So yeah, see you in the next one.